Hello everyone, welcome back to our second instalment of looking at conditional sentences for your IELTS speaking and writing. So last time we looked at part 1 and we looked at the zero and the first conditional. So we're going to start off with a review of that today, just to make sure that we're confident and comfortable going forward. And then we'll look at the second and third conditional. How are they different? Are there any similarities? How can we use them in your IELTS speaking and writing to lead to success? So if that sounds good to you, then this is the lesson for you. Let's get started. So let's recap the zero and first conditionals firstly. We've got a short quiz just to remind ourselves of what they are. So what is the zero conditional used for? And for this one, you can pick more than one answer. Is it A, talking about metaphorical situations? B, talking about the real world? C, talking about general truths? Or D, discussing scientific truths? Okay, have a look, have a think. Can you remember what the zero conditional is all about? If you can, you're welcome to pick one or more than one. If you think more than one apply to this, let's have a look. I think for this one, B, C and D all apply, are all applicable. So the real world, general truths and scientific facts and truths are what the zero conditional is all about. That's what the focus is there. On the other hand then, what is the first conditional used for? Is it A, talking about future situations that are possible? B, talking about present events that are not real? C, future events that are based on present events? Or D, present events based on past situations? Ooh, so we've got lots of different tenses here. Can you remember what tense is related to the first conditional? Let's have a look for this one. Okay, so it's the future. The first conditional is all about the future, but it's all based on what is possible and based on other present events. So this one's a little bit tricky, but we can just remember, okay, this is all about the future, but based on possible present events that are happening currently. So the formula for the zero conditional, is it if plus past simple, present simple? If plus present simple, present simple? If plus present simple, future simple? If plus present simple. Okay, so just one answer is correct for this one. Have a look, and we're jumping back to the zero conditional. So we're thinking about our scientific truths here, our general facts, things that are just considered to be the truth. For this one, it would be if plus present simple, present simple. So we're staying in our present simple here, so it's quite straightforward to remember for the zero conditional. You probably guessed what was coming next, the first conditional formula. This is a bit more complex, this one. So is it if plus present simple plus base form of the verb? If plus present simple, won't plus future simple? So we've got a contracted form of will not there, won't. If plus present simple, will plus future simple. If plus present simple, will plus base form of the verb. Okay, have a think about this one. As I say, it's not as straightforward as zero conditional, so this might cause a few issues here, but have a think. This is the formula. Well done if you got that correct. If plus present simple, will plus base form of the verb. For example, if it rains tomorrow, we will cancel the picnic. Okay, what does everybody think? Is this zero conditional or is this first conditional? Well, we've just been talking about it. It's the first conditional. So there's a real possibility that it might rain tomorrow, and there is a consequence of that condition, which is cancelling the picnic. So presently, there's a known possibility about this rain tomorrow. If you heat ice, it melts. Which conditional do you think that is, zero or first? This one is zero. It's our present simple all the way throughout. So if present simple, it's a general truth. It's generally accepted that this is what happens. Whenever ice is heated, it consistently melts. So it's a situation that is always true. Therefore, it's the zero conditional. If you study hard, you will pass the exam. So you might notice the difference now. Hopefully you're comfortable with the differences. It's quite straightforward to decide, okay, is this zero, is this first conditional? This one, for example, is the first conditional, and a sneaky trick as to how you can tell is because we have that will to express the future here. So the condition is studying hard. It's something achievable, it's possible, and the consequence, passing the exam, is a likely outcome based on that condition. So now you can see why it's called a conditional, because it's all based upon something happening, then something else will happen. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. We've just recapped the zero and the first conditionals there. And so now let's move into the second and third conditionals and see how they differ. Second conditional. What is it used for? Well, it is used to talk about unreal or unlikely situations in the present or the future. So how is it formed? We want to use our if clause plus our past simple this time. So we have our if clause followed with past simple. Then in the next clause we have would followed by the base form of the verb. Okay, so this is different. We have the past simple in this conditional and then this word would. So let's see this in action. We'll see how it's different. So you can talk about an unreal situation in the present. For example, if I were the president, I would implement educational reforms. Okay, so we've got our if clause with our past simple there, were, then would, and then the base form of the verb. So before the verb has been changed, we've got implement educational reforms. So the speaker is not currently the president. That's not what we're saying here. We're using were instead of am, for example, because past simple, indicating the unreal or unlikely nature of this condition. So the consequence is completely hypothetical, and implementing educational reforms for this speaker is out of the question because the condition of being president is very, very, very unlikely. Let's think now about an unlikely situation in the future. You could say, if we won the lottery, we would buy a house on the beach. So winning the lottery is unlikely. The consequence, buying a house on the beach, is a hypothetical outcome, all based on this unlikely condition. So this is a great tense if you want to talk about dreams or wishes that you know are very out of the question, almost impossible, but we can still talk about them using the second conditional. So it's almost like a wish. If I had a magic wand, I would solve all the world's problems. Do magic wands exist? Well, not so far, not that I know of. And the consequence, solving all the world's problems, is an aspirational wish that is, again, almost impossible to come true, solving all the world's problems. I'm not sure whether that is possible for anybody, and in this case, the speaker here. Okay, so that's our second conditional, thinking about wishes and dreams and things that are almost impossible. So let's now switch to the third conditional. What does this mean? Well, this is used to talk about unreal or unlikely situations. So it's similar to the second conditional in that sense, but this time it's in the past. Okay, so the formula for this, we have our if clause, followed with past perfect. Would have, then the past participle. So there's quite a lot going on here, but not to be overwhelmed. We're aware of each part of this formula. We just need to put it all together now. So the past perfect, we've looked at that with tenses. Would have, so we need to remember those two words together, plus that past participle, which is different from the past simple. It's not a verb tense. It's derived from the verb, but it's a new category of words entirely. And regular verbs, you add that ed. Irregular verbs have their own form, which you will have to memorize. But it's okay, we can tackle each part of this. So, for example, you can say about an unreal past situation with regret. Let's see. If she had, okay, so that's our past perfect, had attended the interview, she would have got the job. Right, so if clause followed with past perfect had, and then the past form of the verb, attended, the interview, she would have got, which is the past participle, the job. So this is expressing regret about an unrealized opportunity. Attending the interview, well, did that happen? No, it didn't. And the consequence is a hypothetical result of something that actually didn't happen, all in the past. So regret is something that you can talk about using the third conditional. You can think about an imaginary past situation with a lesson or something that's learnt from that situation. If they had listened to the warnings, they wouldn't have faced the disaster. Okay, so this is something that a lesson has come out of. This is also regrets maybe as well. So if clause, then our past perfect. Now we've actually got a negative, so instead of saying would not have, we can say wouldn't in its contracted form. Wouldn't have faced, the past participle, that is, the disaster. Okay, so this is an imaginary past situation. For example, in reality, they, whoever they are, didn't listen to the warnings. But in this situation, you're expressing that the condition was listened to and that the consequence, not facing the disaster, as an imagined outcome. So again, none of this had happened, none of this took place, none of this happened. So it's all hypothetical. Okay, another situation where you might want to use third conditional is in an unreal past scenario with a missed opportunity. If I had known about the sale, I would have bought a new laptop. That's an irregular past participle there, bought, buy, to buy. bought. So one to learn there. Okay, so this reflects a missed opportunity, again, all in the past. So this speaker, this subject here, did not in fact know about the sale, but they've imagined a situation in which they did. And what would they have done? A hypothetical result of this they would have bought a new laptop. Okay, so that's a lot of information about second and third conditionals. Let's have a practice and see how we get on with these ones. Okay, so let's begin things with a dialogue, a short conversation. So we have Alex. Hey, Emily, if you had the chance to visit any country in the world, where would you go? Emily, oh, that's an interesting question. If I had the opportunity, I would love to explore Japan. The rich culture and beautiful landscapes have always fascinated me. Alex, nice choice. I've heard it's an amazing place. Speaking of travels, if I were a travel blogger, I would document my adventures and share them with the world. Emily, that sounds like a fantastic idea. If I had known more about that career path earlier, I definitely would have pursued it. Okay, so an interesting conversation there between Alex and Emily. So our task is to find either second or third conditionals or both in this conversation. So have a look, see if anything jumps out at you, and extra bonus points if you can decide whether they are second or third conditionals. Here we go. In blue, we have the conditionals. So if you had the chance to visit any country in the world, where would you go? So that's something that is a second conditional. It's unreal in the present moment. It's not, you're not able to have that. Again, with the second one, if I had the opportunity, well, it's not currently possibility, so it's hypothetical if you like. If I were a travel blogger, I would document my adventures. Same for if I were a travel blogger. But then the last one, if I had known more about that career path earlier, I definitely would have pursued it. That is a third conditional. That's a past situation that didn't happen. Maybe slight regret over that one. So there we go. That's a third conditional. So a mixture of the conditionals here. Hopefully that's useful to see it in a conversation like this one. If I more exercise, I would be healthier. So we need to think about the blank here. If I do more exercise, if I doing, if I did, if I does. Okay, so think about what goes in here, and then extra bonus if you can think about, is it a second conditional or a third conditional? Okay, so for this one, I would say if I did more exercise, I would be healthier. And the conditional is the second conditional. So it's about a situation that's not happening in the present and the future here. Okay, well done if you got that correct. Let's go to another one. If the job interview, she would have accepted the offer. Passes, pass, past, passing. Okay, think about the blank here, and then also we'll talk about which conditional this is in. So is this in the past? Is this in the present or future? That's a good way to know what might go in the blank and which conditional it's in. So for this one, it's in the past, which means it is in the third conditional, an unreal situation, hypothetical scenario in the past. Great job with that one. Okay, and we've got another one. If they, to the party, they could have met some interesting people. Would go, go, went, or goes? Any thoughts on this one? Is it in the past? Is it in the present and future? Have a think. For this one, I would say went. And you'd be right if you thought this was in the third conditional, because it's all in the past. Is it real? No. Did it happen? No. It is a made-up situation, if you like, maybe regretful situation that they didn't meet interesting people. Okay, there we have it. Well, thank you so much for coming along. We have now covered all the conditionals, so hopefully you're feeling a bit more confident with those and aware of how you can use both of those in your speech, in your writing, in your practice. Great to have you along today, and we'll see you next time.